My name is Tanya Curry, and this is this week's Acumen Media Report. It's entitled, While You Were Sleeping, Never Waste a Good Crisis. You're here to hear about Ukraine and Russia, right? I'm afraid I can't help you as much as I would like to. Ukrainians are heroes. Everyone condemned the situation. No one actually helped. Unless you are thinking that by putting yellow and blue on your timeline that you've made an impact, you did nothing but watch a narrative that consumed all news media. Slacktivism. That bit of your ego that thinks you actually make an impact through your profile picture. You don't. While you are sleeping, the only thing you have been glued to the Western narrative because there is nothing else in the news. So I'm being unfair to those of you who posted a picture or a profile banner. There's not a lot else you can do. If you would like the same story told from Russia's perspective, there is only one outlet to rely on. I've said it before though, I'm not sharing. It will be shut down soon. However, while it is still churning news and the narrative is completely different, the war is almost over. The job is done, and now the refugees are welcome in Russia, and they will soon be able to return to their war-torn country. Russia found the biological weapons, and they've taken the key cities. People died, lots of them, from both sides. All media got that bit right. It wasn't a war won on combat. It was a war won on oil and gas. Sound familiar? Putin's response to sanctions on oil and gas was to do nothing, and the NATO clan got a hiding. The West panicked. They called the Saudis, but the Saudis didn't answer the phone. Here we are, folks, 2 million refugees later, and greed, insurmountable greed, won the war. While greed and a great deal of media mayhem. I am furious with the journalists of this planet. It seems like there is simply no journalistic integrity anymore. The only thing that counts is how fast you can break a story and how punchy your headlines are. It's far more important to take the media and confuse the hell out of them. Not a single narrative matches from BBC to CNN to Al Jazeera. They reported that Chernobyl was leaking radioactive material and that it was going to impact on the Ukrainians, but about 15 minutes later we were told that this is a harmless leak that's been there for years and it's under control. We heard of the disgusting bombing of the maternity ward. Who even does that? Well, everyone actually. Just look at Syria and Palestine. There is an idiom in public relations: never waste a good crisis. It means if you must publish terrible news, wait until there is a much bigger story, and the chances are no one will pay attention to your crisis. Let me tell you what you missed while you were sleeping in your war coma. Let's keep it international for a second, as we seem to be so interested in international affairs. Prince Andrew, we call him Andrew now because he was stripped of his title, paid Gufran over £7 million to forget she was raped as a child by a paedophile, and not a single world leader blinked. Pfizer dropped the biggest bomb of all. While you were sleeping, they delisted. Why? Well, here in SA, speculation is that it's because of the official data of the vaccine side effects. Basically, for the layman, they took the money and they scarp it. If you want to talk about wars and world events, this week alone, Libya had a new government imposed upon the people that was not voted for. Syria, Lebanon, and Palestine are still calling the world for help, but no one is listening. These nations are literally starving, but you keep watching how they played the piano at the Polish border for the refugees. Media coma. Somalia and Sudan scrambled and rioted for food. I don't want to rabbit on, so I'm going to leave the international press now. Let's bring this home because our local media is easier to verify. After all, we still have that great truth seeker, social media. Wow, Eskom. Just wow.
I'm gonna let it shine, this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine.
Here in Sodwana, we are in our third day without power, and I'm only writing this because our landlord has a generator to end all generators. He's a lifesaver. I guess this is what they call stage 6, the place where no one gives a second look, sleeping on the job. Ukraine and Russia's war brought a major impact to the world, but here in South Africa, it may literally be the straw that breaks the heavily burdened backs of our nation. The fuel price. I remember when I worked in the Matrix in Johannesburg, my fuel bill was more than my food bill by a mile, or a kilometer if you will. And I'm eternally grateful that my longest trip today is anywhere between 6 to 10 kilometers, dependent on which destination I'm going to, the sea or the shop. A tank lasts me a month, where in Johannesburg I was filling up twice a week. Work from home has never been more economical. I can't imagine the impact on our nation that is trying to get to their place of work that has no lights. I saw not even a light at the end of the tunnel. Eskom announced that stage 6 is on the charts. I saw headlines of how the economy loses 17 million rand per hour of load shedding. Over a week, that's 700 million. Over a month, that's 15 billion. This is simple mathematics. Imagine what we could do with 15 billion. Some serious and excellent solar work. Come on, this is not difficult. Here comes the sun. Take a power nap. Headlines exploded last night that Raymond Zondo is officially the new Chief Justice. The man who couldn't put Zuma away, but a man we consider a South African hero for his tenacity and endurance, is now in charge of the highest court in the land. This was the decision of President Ramaphosa, and it was contrary to the recommendation of DCJ Maya, although rumors are here that she will take the position of DCJ. I like that. That's a good team. I really like that team. It's the stuff dreams are made of. Which leads me to more good news. It seems our president's game of chess has started to take pawns, real ones whose names we know. Batabile Dlamini, remember her? She headed up SASSA, and she was quoted as saying, "All of us in the NEC have our smaller Nyana skeletons, and we don't want to take out all the skeletons because hell will break loose." Well, the Grim Reaper has arrived, Dlamini. The court found that she was guilty. The sentencing is still to come. Batabile is a massive name from a rotten pot of gangsters. Let's hope this domino just clips the edge of those that are lined up to fall. Ketle Sitole went down last week, and this week Becky Cele came out to give him a mouthful. He didn't take off his hat. There's no need. No respect earned here. Makwebane is also about to tumble like a deck of badly stacked cards as she runs out of court options. But the royal flush is still up for grabs. Zuma takes another Stalingrad tactic at Downer. He's not going to win, though. The Supreme Court is bound to do the right thing. Are we finally making progress, they say? Wakey, wakey. Ramaphosa was also endorsed for a second term. Let's hope he's bringing his game face, because this is one hell of a game of Russian roulette. One thing he did do that made us raise our eyebrows is he sold a single cow, an Nkomo, for 2.1 million rand to his brother-in-law, Patrice Motsepe. That's a bad dream. I want to talk about Nhlanhla Lux. I'd fallen in love with this man. You may not remember, but Lux saved Jabulani Mall during the insurrection. He was the pill that made the looters rise from their fury to realize that looting today meant starvation tomorrow. In my opinion, he was the reason South Africa stood up and said, "Not in my name." This year, though, Lux has changed his narrative. I hate to say it, but I suspect he's been bought. He championed a movement called Operation Dudula, a xenophobic narrative with dire consequences. A mob of several hundred of several hundred armed men at a migrant center in Soweto were wielding weapons and were angry with foreigners that they accused of taking their jobs. Foreigners go home was the clear message as xenophobia rocketed again this week. Sure, I get it. There are a great deal of people from Zimbabwe, specifically here in South Africa, a bit like Ukrainians that are now flooding Poland. It is the impact of bad leadership. I also agree that the work opportunity should sit with a priority for South Africans. But do we need pangas, guys? Can't we just call the Labour Department to task? This is just admin. No need for grandstanding and all this hate. I read an endearing and horrific story about Baragwanath. The nurses clubbed together to buy millies to feed the patients at the hospital because there was no food. Today, the hospital staff are on strike. People will probably die, but you'll keep hitting that snooze button, okay? There was other news. Hello, darlings was a story that calls for Devi Sankari Govender to start kicking some doors. A woman called Tasneem Musa used a travel scam to liberate many clients of millions of rands. She shut down all her social media sites and she's bailed with the cash. Ta-ta, darlings. Can someone please call Devi? We need her to kick the doors down. And Devi, lovey, while you're at it, can you please check out the Santon Tindler Swindler 2 Scam Slumber? Let me cheer you up. There is one story I've left for months, mostly because it's so absurd that I didn't want to give it airtime. The licensing department. One machine services the entire country. One machine. It broke. Did we fix it? No, we can't fix that. You see, out of 40 million people, not one person is capable of maintaining or even inventing a machine like this. Apparently, only the Germans can come up with that kind of Vorsprung. Fast forward 5 or 6 months and the machine is back. Well, when I say back, I mean the machine is backlogged. Did we make contingency plans over half the year? Of course not, you dreamers. The good news is, and here's the funny bit, if your license has expired, you don't need a tank of fuel. I told you I'd cheer you up. I'm Tonya Curry, and you've just scratched the surface with Acumen Media.